Hiya parents and carers. Home learning, we're here again, aren't we? Obviously it's not something any of us want, and hopefully it's short term this time. You know, let's get that vaccine rolled out. I sound like Boris, don't I? But let's get that vaccine rolled out, and hopefully certainly by Easter we're back to normal. The government have said that this is until at least February half term, so hopefully it's not any longer than that, but we are looking at least this 5 or 6 week period. So, as you know, the home learning is on the website. We're putting daily home learning on for each class. We've decided to do the format that we are doing instead of kind of live lessons, if you like, via something like Teams, just to ensure it's fully inclusive, really. The Teams lessons are great, but if you're not able to log in, or your child's not able to log into Teams at a particular time, then obviously they miss the lesson. So, we're offering the same quality of teaching, but our teachers are pre-recording it at home, so that it's accessible at any point during the day, really, and so that your child's home learning can be managed around your own working days, because we appreciate that a lot of you are obviously trying to work from home whilst also supporting your children. So the purpose of this video, really, I'm just going to try and give you just a few, I guess, top tips from an educator's point of view in terms of what you can do to survive home learning. All right, so I hope you find it useful. Don't be dismayed if the quality of your child's work at home during this period isn't as good as you think it should be, or school have led you to believe. Children don't tend to perform as well in a home environment. They tend to try it on a little bit with the parents. I know my little boy does, and they tend to work harder and produce better work in a classroom environment. So if you're seeing the work looks a lot scruffier than it did at, say, the last parents' evening, or you don't feel it's at the expected level for their year group when you've been told in school it is, don't be dismayed. Kind of trust what we've been saying. Obviously still try to get the best out of the children, but don't be disheartened if you feel the quality of the work has reduced because they're at home. One of the key elements of teaching a lesson is not just telling the children what they need to do, it's showing them what a good example looks like, and we call that modelling. So you'll see that in nearly all of the online lessons teachers have produced, there is some element of modelling. Now that's a really key part of the lesson, because that shows the children kind of the expectation, really, and it shows them what a good piece of work looks like. So it's something to aspire towards, and it helps them to understand what skills they're working on in that particular lesson. So if you do have the time, you could perhaps help your child by doing a bit of modelling yourself, whether that be some writing or some calculations with them, or whatever that lesson might be. But if you see modelling, so that's showing the children what a good one looks like, as a key part of all of the lessons that they're involved with. Another really important part of lessons is questioning. So teachers, teaching assistants, educators, we use an awful lot of questioning. To help children further their understanding of what's being taught, but also to help us ascertain what they've actually learnt during that lesson. So if you do get the time, it may just be a few minutes at the end of a lesson that they've completed, ask them some questions about it, ask them some questions about the learning, and try and find out what it is they've understood from that lesson. Don't worry if your children are getting things wrong. Okay, now particularly in something like maths, which is quite black and white, obviously we challenge the children and we pitch the work, not so that they can complete every task with ease, but so that there is some level of challenge, some level of difficulty, because it's at that point that they're learning. We talk to the children an awful lot about their comfort zone. If they're always in the comfort zone in a lesson, then they're not learning. Okay, so they need to be in some kind of a challenge zone. So if they're getting some answers wrong, that is a good thing. They will learn from that. And if you do have the time to sort of talk through and discuss with them, why they might have got that wrong and what they could do next time to improve, then that'd be a really good thing to help them with their progress. Don't worry too much about the bigger picture in writing. Writing can be quite overwhelming, particularly for somebody who's not an educator, because there's so many elements. If a child's writing a story, there are so many skills they've got to use there, and we don't expect them to nail every single skill every single time. In any given lesson, we ask the children to work on just usually one key skill, and that will be made clear at the start of the lessons that the teachers are preparing. So if you're looking at a piece of work that your child's done, first of all, find out what the skill was that they were learning about, okay? So then when you're talking to your child about their work, you can focus in on that skill. And that's the thing we're hoping that they make progress with during that lesson. For example, if they're writing a story, we might say, right, today we're looking at verbs in particular. So the input for that lesson and the modelling would all be about using verbs and what verbs are. And then at the end of the lesson, when we would mark that piece of work, we would look in particular at the verbs. And that is the bit we would mark and assess. Obviously, we would hope they'd try and use other language within that, nouns and adjectives and punctuation and so on. But it would be the verbs we would focus in on. So don't, if you see a big piece of writing your child has done, don't try and focus on every skill with them. And don't worry if not all the skills are sound yet. Just focus on the key skill for that lesson. Your child will not perform the same every single day. Some days they'll have really good days, produce some excellent work, concentrate and so on. And other days they just won't. Don't let this become a big battle, okay? If they're having an off day, let them take a break from it. Take them outside, bit of fresh air, play a game with them, let them go off and do something they want to do and then maybe come back to it later. Okay, they're just like us in terms of having ups and downs. So again, don't be dismayed if that happens. It will happen at some point. If you're able to, and I know, we're all in different situations at the moment, but if you are able to try to have a consistent structure to the day. So try to have, during the week, your child getting up at a similar time, having breakfast, getting dressed perhaps before they start the work, and then try and stick to a fairly consistent routine in terms of when they do their English task, the maths task and the topic task. Let them have breaks, whether that be inside or outside. Let them have a decent amount of time for lunch, and finish the day at a reasonable time. Obviously, you'll all be operating slightly different schedules at the moment, perhaps depending on your own shifts and working commitments and so on. But if it can be within let's say a 9 till 4 kind of a time slot, I think that's when children perform best. So yeah, that would be a tip. Definitely try and work to some kind of a consistent routine. We do a lot of talking in classrooms. Obviously, children share ideas with each other and discuss the work all the time. Obviously, we can't do that at the moment because we're not in school. But what I will say, if you've got the facility, perhaps get your child to get together with a few other friends via Zoom or Teams and have a chat about the work that they've done. Perhaps share the work with one another, talk about what they found easy and what they found hard, and pinch ideas from each other's work. It's really important that we keep staying connected to each other. So if you can do that, that will really support their learning and also their mental well-being. This one's specific to maths, really. The kind of sequence of maths teaching is we think first of all about something called the concrete, which is something we can hold on to. We can touch its physical objects, and then we try and think about pictorial and then the abstract. So a lot of maths is quite abstract because it's just numbers that have no meaning to children. So if ever your child's having problems with maths, try and bring that back to the concrete. So what I mean by that is get items out, use objects, do some counting with those first before you start introducing them to things that are written down or on the screen. And that will really help them with their understanding of maths, so they can consolidate that understanding and so it becomes really secure. Okay, so try to use objects, real things from around the house, whatever they might be. There might be coins, there might be pencils, there might be, cutlery. But try to use those as much as possible if your children are struggling with some of the maths concepts. So the single most important academic skill we teach in school is reading. So if you do only have a short amount of time every day to spend with your child and their home learning, then do some reading with them. Listen to your child read. Number one, that's it's really important to allow your child that time to read out loud. It helps to develop obviously their reading ability, their fluency, and it also helps them to develop using expressive voices and something something we call a storyteller voice, which children really enjoy doing. That brings stories to life, so you can have some fun with that. So do listen to them read, and as well as listening to them read, ask them some questions about it. We call that comprehension. So that's a child's ability to understand what they've read. You know, reading's no use if you can't understand what you've read. So, you know, every so often stop your child and ask them about what they've read so far. You could perhaps ask about what a character's just done, or you could even ask them to predict what might happen next. That's a really good skill as well. So yeah, listen to your child read. Similarly, it's great to read to children. So children thoroughly enjoy that. You know, don't think that's something that's just for kind of babies and toddlers. You know, children right through to year 6 and beyond love being read to. So find a quality text, texts around the house, maybe magazines, maybe texts online, stuff that the children are going to be engaged by, and read to children. It doesn't necessarily have to be a text that they could read themselves either. You know, reading to children is a really good way of kind of unlocking brand new vocabulary for them. But you know, children do love being read to, and I guess I would say that, you know, these reading times are ideal just before bed. It's a lovely way of enabling your child and yourself to wind down. It keeps them off screen time just before bed, and in theory they should sleep better because of it. So yeah, as I say, you know, if you're going to prioritise your time with your children in terms of home learning, then stick reading at the top of the list. I know a lot of you'll be worried that this period of school closure is going to really, you know, affect your child's education. Can I just stress the most important thing at the moment is your child's well-being, really. So if you can look after that first, you know, and if you are struggling to fit in the home learning, then, you know, leave that to us when they come back to school. We're hoping this is only until, let's say, you know, beginning of March, and you know, your children are only early on in their school careers, so we've got a lot of time to catch up the gaps that there will be in their understanding. So please, again, you know, as much as we'd like you to try and do, as you know, a lot of the home learning, we are understanding of the fact, and we do appreciate the fact that you're not all going to be able to do it all. So please don't feel a lot of pressure on yourselves to complete all the home learning. I'm sure you'll be talking to other parents, and you'll speak to some parents who are doing everything, and it sounds like they're doing it all perfectly. That's absolutely fine. But if you're not in that situation, that circumstance, don't worry about it. Okay, we're not talking about a really long period that's gonna affect your child's life chances. We're not talking about that at all. Okay, we can make up the gaps. We can catch up the gaps when they come back to school. As I say, the most important thing at the moment is your child's well-being. All right, so if you feel like they need a walk with you, or they need to go muck about in a playground with you rather than doing the maths, then do that first, please. Okay. And this last one, I'm speaking as a parent really, rather than you know, an educator. If you're anything like me, you'll probably feel like you can't do anything right at the moment, balancing work and children. I tried to work from home the other day. I've got a 3-year-old boy, and it was just an absolute nightmare. I felt like I couldn't give work 100%, and I felt awful because he was wanting to play, you know, and do things, and I couldn't give him 100% either. So to me, I was failing at both. But actually, I think we should all just give ourselves a break at the moment, and you know, we're all doing the best we can, aren't we? So please, I've said it before, don't try to put too much pressure on yourselves. We'll all get through this. It's short term. It's tough. It really is tough for now. But you don't ever think that you're the only person thinking this is tough or thinking that you're failing. You're not. I think we probably all feel like we're not doing anything particularly well at the moment. So I would just say, you know, from a parent to another parent, just go easy on yourselves. We're all doing our best, aren't we? As parents, we're all doing our best. All right. So take care, and we'll see you all really, really soon, hopefully. I hope you found at least some of that useful. Don't forget, school's still here for you, even though your children aren't coming into school at the moment. So if you do need anything, any queries, any questions about the curriculum, or your child's well-being, or any safeguarding matters, then please do get in touch with either your child's class teacher, particularly with things relating to curriculum, or myself or Mrs. Ray if you need us to. Okay, so take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.